Why do you have 2 beds in your bedroom? My friend from college was staying with us, and the door to our bedroom was slightly open. She wasn't trying to be nosy, but she couldn't help but notice. 1 room, 1 happily married couple, and 2 beds. I muttered something about Niddah, laws of family purity, and quickly changed the subject. I wasn't so keen to start explaining about how, according to Jewish law, husband and wife are forbidden from having physical relations when the wife has her period. About how during that time of the month, my husband and I sleep in separate beds. When I reflected on it later, I asked myself why her question made me so uncomfortable. My friends ask me about Jewish stuff all the time, and usually I love these kinds of questions. I embrace them. But I'd rather you didn't ask me why my husband and I sleep separately when I have my period. And I think it's because I have some ambivalence about this mitzvah. More than ambivalence, I'm a little embarrassed about it. This notion that my husband and I can't touch while I have my period, forgive me for saying this, but it feels a little primitive. It calls to mind images of ostracized women confined to their menstruation huts. And yes, I've heard the explanation that Niddah isn't about any of that. It's not anti-woman. It's meant to strengthen the relationship between husband and wife. That it's the secret to happy, lasting Jewish marriages. Absence makes the heart grow fonder and all that. But if I'm being honest, something about that explanation smacks of apologetics. The Torah doesn't say that husbands and wives should observe Niddah because it will bring them closer. The El Isha b'nidat tumata, and to a woman who has her period, lo tikrav legalot ervata, don't come close to uncover her nakedness. That's all the verse says. Did you hear anything about strengthening the marital bond? I didn't. So where do we get this idea from? Are we just so eager to defend the Torah, to prove that it's not primitive and anti-women, that we just kind of made it up? All of that suspicion swimming around inside of me. Suspicion that what we tell ourselves about Niddah is just apologetics, just a pat explanation that we slap on to make ourselves feel better about observing this possibly misogynistic, archaic taboo. Well, all of that really gets in the way of my connecting to this mitzvah. But I recently noticed something in the Torah text that completely changed the way I see Niddah. Let's go back to that verse that I quoted. It's true, the verse doesn't say, hey, husbands and wives, here's why you should separate during this time. But the Torah often conveys its messages more subtly, implicitly. One way that the Torah does that is through context. Let me explain what I mean by context. If I'm reading the handbook for my kids' preschool, and I flip open to a random page and see that it says, please do not send any meat products to school, I don't know the reason for the rule. I could speculate. Maybe it's because the school serves dairy food and they want to separate milk and meat to keep kosher. Maybe it's because the school wants to teach values having to do with vegetarianism, animal rights, all that stuff. But that's all speculation. Now, say I turn to the previous page and I see that this is actually the last item in a series of rules, and that right before the meat rule, there was this. This year, there are several children in the class with allergies, ranging from mild to severe. If your child has an allergy, please make sure that the school nurse has an up-to-date EpiPen. Please do not send any nuts to school. Please do not send any eggs to school. Please do not send any meat products to school. That sure sounds like the reason for the rule is because there are children who are allergic to meat. That is really going to change the way that I understand, please do not send any meat products to school. The same sort of thing is happening with the law of Niddah. Look at the context of the Niddah law and you'll see what I mean. This section of the Torah begins with a kind of heading, a general law that previews what's to come. Ish el kol she'ar besaro, to a family member, lo tikravu legalot erva, don't come close to uncover their nakedness. This section of the Torah is about the prohibition on incest. And I just want you to notice the key words that come up in this verse. Tikravu, to come close, legalot, to reveal, erva, nakedness. Those words are going to come up again later. What follows is a whole list of specific laws against incest. Don't uncover the nakedness of your parent. Don't uncover the nakedness of your sister, your niece, your half-sister, your aunt, your uncle, your daughter-in-law, or your sister-in-law. Now, in the next 2 verses, the pattern seems to change a little. Don't uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter, or a woman and her granddaughter. Don't marry 2 sisters. Here, the issue isn't incest per se, but the core idea is still the same. If you had a sexual relationship with a woman, and then you also went and had a sexual relationship with her daughter or with her granddaughter, that's still problematic. They aren't engaging in a sexual relationship with each other, but you are introducing sexuality into their dynamic in a way that is, apparently, akin to incest. The same goes for two sisters. Don't do that. And that brings us to the Niddah verse. Ve'el isha b'nidat tumata, and to a woman who has her period, lo tikrav legalot ervata. Don't come close to uncover her nakedness. It's not just that this law comes right after a long list of incest laws. Listen to the language of the verse. Tikrav, to come close. Legalot, to uncover. Ervata, nakedness. It's those same key words that appeared in our introductory verse against incest. In the eyes of the Torah, this Niddah law is clearly part of the section on incest. Why would that be? To suggest that there might possibly be anything incestuous happening between a husband and a wife is a highly disturbing thought. But let's just slow down and walk through it together. What does it mean for something to be incestuous? When we think about a parent and a child having a sexual relationship, it's depraved, it's exploitative. The parent is taking advantage of the child. The child is experiencing acute harm. But incest doesn't necessarily imply exploitation. What about a brother and a sister? Two consenting adults. Why don't we think it's a good thing for them to have a sexual relationship? I think it's because there's something precious about a relationship between a brother and a sister. And if you bring sex into the picture, it destroys that precious something. So you have to put up a boundary to say, sex has no place in this relationship in order to protect the relationship. Incest, at its essence, is two people who have a relationship with one another, and there is something precious about their relationship. And when you introduce sexuality into it, it corrupts that precious something. That precious something, we might call that a familial connection, a family kind of love. The prohibition against incest provides an opportunity for family love to flourish safely. So if that's what incest is, then what would it mean to look at the husband-wife relationship through that lens? Of course, a husband and a wife are meant to enjoy a sexual relationship. But the Torah seems to be telling us not all the time. Why not? Presumably for the same reason as all of the other incest laws. Because there's something precious about their relationship, something that is threatened by sexuality. I think we all recognize that sexual intimacy isn't the only way to be close to someone. The person you love is staying up late, writing a paper, and you bring them a mug of hot tea. You're feeling sick in the middle of the night, so your partner accompanies you to the hospital, never leaving your bedside. You stay up late talking, opening up your heart and mind to one another, sharing your dreams and your fears. You're struggling, and your partner strengthens you, saying, "I believe in you." These are all experiences of intense intimacy that have nothing to do with sexuality. This kind of intimacy is precious, but it needs to be given the space to thrive. The drive for sexual intimacy can be so powerful that it sort of takes over, sucking up all of the air that emotional intimacy needs to breathe. But when you make space for emotional connection, you're building a bedrock that makes the sexual relationship even more fulfilling in those times when you do come together. Husbands and wives are sexual partners, but they are also family. So the Torah teaches us, don't bring sexuality into your relationship with your parent, your sibling, your uncle, your aunt. Protect that precious something that is family love. And it's in that context that the Torah instructs husbands and wives not to have physical relations during the wife's period. A marriage should also have that precious something, should also nurture a family kind of love. And we need to put boundaries on the sexual in order for the familial to breathe. So we follow this monthly rhythm. Now it's sexual time, now it's familial time. These alternating currents that keep things in balance. So where does that all leave us? We're not so far from where we began, from the traditional explanation about how Niddah can strengthen a marriage. But seeing it all so clearly in the pages of the Torah itself changes so much for me. First off, I feel relief. Those suspicions that I had about apologetics, I can put them to rest. I don't have to be embarrassed about this mitzvah. I can explain Niddah in a way that, to me at least, feels satisfying and compelling. Bring on the questions. And with my suspicion and embarrassment set aside, The air is clear for me to cultivate a more authentic connection to this mitzvah, so that when I'm actually observing the laws of Niddah, I can say to myself, to my husband, this is the time for us to focus on our precious something, our family love, to cherish it, to be grateful for it, and to make sure we're giving it what it needs to flourish. Niddah isn't meant to be time apart. It's time together, just a different kind of together.
Thanks for watching. Meaningful Judaism is a project of Aleph Beta Labs, and we're supported by generous folks just like you. Make sure to subscribe and go to alephbeta.org to find out more.